Listening because you all got it wrong. So I need every person listening, okay? We are going to do this problem like we did yesterday, how you were taught, and then I'm going to show you why every person got it incorrect, because there's something very important we have to check, okay? So first thing we need is a common denominator. Do you have, go to Mr. Mattel's room. Do you have a common denominator? X minus 3 is almost common, but which one is it not with? The one in the middle. So I need to put it there. And if I put it in the denominator, where else do I have to put it? In the numerator. So X minus 3 in the numerator. Okay. Now, what happens when all my denominators are the same? Okay, listen to me. You can only cross them out if my problem has an equal sign, because we did these problems before without an equal sign. Could we cross them out? No. So I can only cross out my denominators when my problem has an equal sign. Everybody hear me say that? Maybe you should write that down. You can only cross out denominators. So only cross out denominators with equal sign. If you don't have an equal sign, you can't do that. You've just lost all 20 points on your problem because you did it incorrectly, okay? So you can only cross it out when you have an equal sign. This problem has an equal sign, so I can cross all my denominators out. So when I cross them out, I need to write what's on top. I have x plus 4 plus, what am I really doing with this 1? Distributing. So what's 1 times x? And what's 1 times negative 3? Excuse me. Equals 7. Now this is just solving, combine like terms. So what is x plus x? 2x. What is 4 minus 3? Plus 1 equals 7. What am I going to do next? Subtract 1 from both sides. So 2x equals 6. Thank you. And so what's my last step? Divide by 2. So what does x equal? This is wrong. Here's what you need to know. Our original problem started as a fraction. If I have a fraction, what number can never, ever be in the denominator of a fraction? 0, okay? So it's called a domain restriction, but what we are going to call it today is a denominator restriction. I should see all pencils writing. A denominator restriction. Your denominator cannot equal 0. So if I take my answer and I plug it into my denominator, which was x minus 3, what is 3 minus 3? Can it be 0? So can this be an answer to my problem? No, this cannot be an answer because it'll make my denominator 0. So if my problem has no answer, what is my answer really? No solution. Okay. So I cannot have an answer that when I plug in gives me 0. Let's see who really understands that. So if I have this problem right here, what answer, what can x not be? So what would I have to plug in there to get 0? -2. So if I get an answer of -2, can I put it in a box? No. What about this one? What can x not be? +4, because 4 minus 4 gives me 0. Are we catching on here? Let's go try another one. What can this one not be? -3, because if I put a -3, I would get a 0. What can this one not be? Positive 2. Is everybody catching on to how we're getting these numbers? Okay, so you have to check that number. You can do it first, you can do it last, but it has to be checked. Okay, let's go do one problem together today to do this and to try a level 3 or 4 problem. So the example we are doing today is 1 over x minus 7 plus x over x minus 2 equals 5 over x minus 7, x minus 2. Everybody should be writing, please. So you can check your denominator right now, or we can check our denominator in the end. These are very easy to check right now because they're all just whole numbers. There's no fractions, there's nothing else. So what do we know our first x cannot equal? So x cannot equal 7. I'm just going to write it to the side so my brain remembers this. What else in this problem can x not equal? Positive 2, because if I plug those in, I will get a 0 in a denominator. Does anybody have a question about that? So when we get our final answer, if it's one of these two numbers, what are we going to have to do with it? We're going to cross it out. Okay. All right. So let's go actually work this problem. I need a common denominator. What is my common denominator going to be? X minus 7, x minus 2 pulled together. So x minus 7, x minus 2 is my common denominator. My first fraction, which part of that new denominator is missing? So I'm going to put it in the denominator and in the numerator. My second fraction, what part of my new denominator is missing? X minus 7 in the denominator, in the numerator. My third fraction, what part of my new denominator is missing? Nothing, so it stays. Does my problem have an equal sign? What's that mean I can do? Cross out my denominators. So let's go write what's left over, and it's going to take a little bit of space, so don't try and squeeze it over here, okay? So I have x minus 2, because all I have is that 1 to distribute, plus x times x minus 7 equals 5. Does anybody not know where this came from? Ask now. Be brave if you don't know where this came from. It just came from reading straight across my numerator. What am I going to have to do next? Distribute the x. Very good. So my x minus 2 stays. And when I distribute x, what is x times x? X squared. And x times negative 7? Negative 7x equals 5. What's it look like we might be trying to do? An eye chart. Why do you get that? There's an x squared, an x, and a number. In order to make an eye chart, what does this have to say? Equals 0. So how do I get rid of this positive 5? Subtract it. Here's the tricky part. What does it subtract from? The negative 2. It has to look like the matching one. So I have x minus 7 plus x squared minus 7x equals 0. What can I do next? Combine my like terms. X minus 7x. What's x minus 7x? Negative 6x. Now, I'm going to do this in one step, so make sure you're watching, James. Nobody cares about your hair. No, sorry. Which one of these has to go first when I try to make an eye chart? My x squared has to go in front, then my x, and what has to come last? So what number is going to go here? Negative 7 equals 0. Now this is set up to go make an eye chart. If you need to make one, then go make one. What are the only two numbers in the world that can multiply to 7? 1 and 7. And how do I get a -6? A +1 and a -7. Thank you. I am solving. What's that mean my answer should look like? X equals, so I got to set both parentheses equal to 0. Both parentheses equal to 0. So when I subtract 1 from both sides, what will my first X equal? -1. And when I add 7 to both sides, what will my X equal? +7. Check your answers. What did we say in the very beginning? X could not equal what? +7 or +2. Do I have one of those answers? So I crossed it out. It cannot equal that. So what is my answer? X equals -1. Very good. Questions? Okay, here's what I need from you today. I need you to get this packet, and I need you to keep working on the level problems, level 1, 2, 3, 4, or you may do the maze. Do not do anything other than these 2 papers. Don't flip any other page. This is what I need today. Either the level problems, or you may work on the maze. Make sure you're doing your maze on your paper though, and just check that your answers are correct. Both answer keys are on the front desk. Are there questions? I personally would continue on the leveled problems, but that's your choice, okay? And I would make sure that you do every single one of those problems. Do not skip them. All right, if you'll start working for me, I will walk around and answer questions.